It was now time to tame my favourite dinosaur of all time since I was 6 years old. The fierce and terrifying Baryonyx was on my list today to start laying eggs for now, until later when I would use their kibble for future high level Bary tames. But I was not expecting to find one that looked this colourful and stunning, so stay tuned to see just how great this guy looks. However, now that you've liked and subscribed, let's begin this episode of Ark Ragnarok. So far from our hatchery, we were missing 3 types of eggs: medium, extra large and special. For extra large and special, I will probably tame both the Rex and Uteranus, but that would be much later, as for now, I wanted a mount that would fare me well on land, in caves and in the water. But I wanted that to be my first real bred and mutated dinosaur, so the first steps would be to acquire the kibble, making sure I could tame any high levels with the greatest efficiency and taming effectiveness. So for now, as eggs and genders were the only thing in which mattered, I headed out in search of preferably for quicker tames, low levels, which came a lot sooner than anticipated, spying a level 15 with a really nice red colouring, the one you would have most likely spied in the thumbnail. For now, it was a little sad that I could not breed this for the colours as he was too low level, but maybe we could find one later that could work. However, I still wanted them for breeding, so I began firing my arrows, sending him charging towards me, until eventually, they bolted in the other direction, and it wasn't long before he was down. Just a small disclaimer, I saw that you could actually both pick these up on the back of an Argentavis and bowler them. But as you will see later with the bowlers, this information is outdated and almost ended in complete disaster. I took on some piranhas to gather up some fish meat for my first Bary as lots began to attack, but soon enough, and not too much meat used up, Gary was tamed. However, as I tried to take him back home, a raptor pack attacked, and due to Gary's low level, this was a struggle as he was looking pretty rough. And eventually, the raptors fell luckily, so I carried on up to the top of the hill, back to my base where I left them waiting for now in the centre of the hatchery, saddled up and ready to go. Nowhere, because he would help fertilise the female's eggs. I collected more eggs from my other dinos whilst I was there before getting back on Opal and heading out to find a swamp, hoping to have a little more luck with Barys there, as there was only a small area behind my base and nothing else seemed to be there as of now. On my way, I found a rather nice area with lots of water and rocks, visually pleasing but most likely a terrible base location. However, just beyond that lay the swamp that I was searching for, and instantly saw another Baryonyx, which sadly turned out to be a level 95 male, and as I only needed females, this would only waste my time, so I carried on the search. But just a little further along, I could not believe it as there was a level 100 female, also bright red and would look great inside my base. But you know that I mentioned earlier about bowlers not working on these guys? Well, enjoy this little mishap, as I eventually managed to separate her from the Caprasucas until they were dealt with, until getting the Bary to chase me as I had out my bowlers, and as they failed, which made sense but I listened to the internet, I was now being chomped and Opal began to attack. I managed to grab onto the back of my RG as we flew off, giving us space again and allowing me to fire more trank arrows, before she began to run. I got down on the ground and did all that I could, firing more arrows at her, but she came back, psyching me out and attacking me once again, breaking all of my armor and almost killing me, until Opal had enough and finished off this Bary. This left me still with no armor, no female Baryonyx, and such a long way from home. Realizing that this was a bad idea without armor, I took to making foundations, a refining forge, and a smithy in the hopes of repairing what I could, but whilst most of the rocks and trees here were unable to be broken, I had to fly away and back again in the hopes of trying to fix up even a little armor. As the metal was smelting, I spotted a female Dimorphodon, so I decided I could tame it here too, as the more female kibble creatures I had, the better. With the little armor I had repaired, I flew around in search of another female Baryonyx, and no matter where I looked, I could only find the male from before, and with limited resources, I decided that it was time to head on back, flying so slowly due to having the tamed Dimorphodon as well as Blake. Eventually, after a very long flight, I arrived back, organising the hatchery whilst looking behind my base again, spotting yet another male, level 15 Baryonyx. So deciding that 2 couldn't hurt, I tamed him up too, which despite him falling down in the water, he still didn't drown. So before long, Larry was mine and taken back to the base, much easier than Gary before. Once I got back, placing him inside the hatchery also, I got to work crafting more spark powder for the preserving bin, and after only finding 1 female all day and messing it up, I decided that crafting up a trap to get them inside and making things a little easier was the way to go. But for now, that is where I decided to call it. So if you'd like to see more of me inside of Ark, be sure to catch up on the previous episodes or my live streams, and if you'd like your own Ark server, click on my link in the description to Natidos and host your own from just $8.20 per month. But now that you've subscribed and liked the video, enjoy the rest of my content until we'll catch you in the next one.